Imagine waking up in a body that feels like a prank designed by humans. Cute on the outside, chaos on the inside. That's the reality of being a pug. But here's the twist, it wasn't always like this. 2,000 years ago in ancient China, life was surprisingly good for you. You weren't a meme dog or a walking medical problem. You were a palace treasure. You lounged on silk cushions, sat beside emperors, and dined better than most people in the kingdom. And your body? It actually worked. You had a longer snout, stronger lungs, and fewer built-in defects. You weren't built to run marathons, but at least you could breathe without sounding like a broken accordion. But humans love to tinker. The royals thought, what if we made these dogs cuter? Smaller nose, bigger eyes, curly little tail. They wanted living dolls, not living creatures. And since nobody was there to say maybe don't shrink skulls, they did it anyway. Centuries later, you were exported to Europe. Nobles saw you and thought, perfect, an animal fragile enough to match our velvet furniture. You started appearing in Dutch paintings, sitting like ornaments on silk pillows. You were no longer a working animal, you were decoration. Then came England in the 1800s. Queen Victoria adored pugs, and when a queen loves something, the public follows. Breeders exaggerated your features even more. Shorter muzzle, rounder skull, tighter tail curl. They pressed the cute button again and again until the design cracked. By the 20th century, dog shows wrote the rules that locked in your look. Judges didn't care if you could breathe, they cared if your face was flat. Longer nose? Disqualified. Straight tail? Faulty. Health was optional. Appearance was mandatory. And then the internet arrived. Suddenly, you weren't just a pet, you were content. Every snort and wheeze became entertainment. Humans dressed you in costumes, filmed you struggling to breathe, and called it adorable. From emperors' palaces to TikTok filters, your evolution wasn't survival of the fittest, it was survival of whatever looked cutest. Now let's look inside your body. The first thing you notice is the skull. Flattened, squashed, technically called brachycephalic. That's a fancy word for airways crushed like bent straws. Your soft palate doesn't even fit, clogging the throat like a door jammed shut. That's why every breath is a struggle. A short walk can leave you collapsing, not from laziness, but because you're literally suffocating. Then there are the eyes. Oversized, bulging, barely contained in their sockets. Cute for selfies, dangerous for living. A rough sneeze or bump can actually pop one out. Imagine walking around every day with the risk of your eyeballs falling out. That's normal for you, and those wrinkles, they're not just decoration. They're five-star resorts for bacteria. Unless your human wipes you constantly, you're a walking infection trap. Your curly corkscrew tail? That's not style, it's a mild spinal deformity. In bad cases, it twists nerves and causes chronic pain. Your tail is literally your backbone folding in surrender. And the heat? For most dogs, panting cools them down. But with your crushed airways, you overheat like a phone left in the sun. In hot weather, your body becomes a ticking time bomb. So what does all this actually feel like? Living as a pug is like playing life on hard mode. You wake up with your throat half closed. Your skin itches. Your back twinges. Your eyes strain. You don't walk, you waddle and wheeze. The park is a battlefield. The staircase is Everest. The sun is your worst enemy. Even sleep isn't restful. It's noisy because you're fighting for air in your dreams. And yet humans still call it cute. But the truth is, this isn't nature's fault. It's ours. Selective breeding pushed exaggeration over function. Rounder head, flatter face, tighter curls. Health was never rewarded, only appearance. And now the law is starting to take notice. In 2022, Norway ruled that breeding extreme pugs violated animal welfare laws. A major European court literally declared that creating dogs like this might be unethical. So what happens next? Two possibilities. 1, extinction. The pug as we know it vanishes. Or 2, a redesign in the other direction. Longer nose, healthier lungs, stronger spine. A pug built to survive, not just decorate. Because here's the sad truth. Being a pug sucks not because you're weak, but because you were forced into a body that doesn't work. Once you were strong enough for emperors and charming enough for queens. Now you're viral content. Wheezing in a pumpkin costume for Halloween. Cute on the outside, cruel on the inside. That's what it means to live as a pug. Let's step inside the body of a pug and see what's really going on. At first glance, it looks cute, round, and cuddly. But under the surface, it's a machine full of glitches. The skull is the first red flag. It isn't just flat, it's compressed like someone pressed it in a vise. The official word is brachycephalic, but all it really means is that the face has been pushed so far inward that the airways are practically useless. Breathing is no longer automatic, it's an Olympic event. Every inhale is like sucking air through a bent straw. Then there's the throat. Because the nose is shortened, the soft palate doesn't fit where it's supposed to. It flaps in the way, blocking airflow, like dragging oxygen through a clogged vacuum filter. That's why many pugs collapse after a short burst of activity. They're not lazy, they're suffocating in plain sight. Now let's talk about the eyes. They're massive, cartoonish, and photogenic. Great for a selfie, terrible for survival. They bulge so much that they don't sit securely in the sockets. A rough sneeze, a tumble, or even a quick head shake can make one pop out. Imagine living with the constant possibility that your vision could fall onto the floor. That's normal if you're a pug. The famous wrinkles don't help either. They're charming in photos but function like bacteria hotels. Every fold is a warm, moist pocket where infections thrive. Unless a human wipes them down daily, your face becomes a playground for germs. Cute rolls on the outside, stinky reality on the inside. And what about that curly little tail everyone loves? Here's the secret, it's actually a mild spinal deformity. That twist in the backbone looks like style, but it can press on nerves and cause pain. In severe cases, it's not just uncomfortable, it's crippling. The tail is a warning sign written into your spine. Add in heat. Dogs normally cool themselves by panting. But when your breathing system is broken, panting doesn't work. You overheat faster than almost any other breed. A hot day that other dogs shrug off can be life-threatening to you. Summer is less a season and more a danger zone. So what does it really feel like to live in this body? Picture waking up with your throat half closed, your skin itching from hidden folds, your back aching from a twisted tail, your eyes straining, too large for comfort. A short walk feels like a marathon. Stairs might as well be mountains. A sunny afternoon can knock you flat. Even sleep isn't peaceful. It's filled with snorts and wheezes as your body fights for air. And yet people still say, "That's adorable." They film the wheezing, the snoring, the struggling, and upload it as comedy. Your medical symptoms become memes. It's not laziness. It's not dramatics. It's simply what happens when design beats biology. The bigger problem is that this didn't happen by accident. Humans created it on purpose. Generations of selective breeding rewarded exaggeration instead of health. Rounder head, flatter face, curlier tail, bigger eyes. Every feature was chosen to satisfy taste, not survival. And now the law is starting to call it out. In 2022, Norway declared that extreme pug breeding violated animal welfare standards. That means entire countries are recognizing that your existence has become unethical. So where do you go from here? One path leads to extinction. The pug as we know it could simply vanish because it can't survive without constant medical intervention. The other path is redesign, breeding pugs back toward functionality. Longer nose, healthier lungs, stronger bones, undoing centuries of damage. The tragedy is that you were once companions of emperors, icons in royal courts, symbols of calm and loyalty. Now you're props for Instagram, wrapped in Halloween costumes, gasping for air while people laugh at the noise. Cute on the outside, cruel on the inside. That is life as a pug.